Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very, very cold Monday, post Super Bowl. Still may be the warmest day of the week. And we had a warm hearing that just wrapped up a few minutes ago. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about what the state board is looking at, and then chime in if there's anything else. And I just finished testifying on House Bill 2119 in the House K-12 Education Budget Committee. This is another type of private school aid bill, different from the tuition tax or the scholarship tax credit bill we've been talking to you about. Instead, it's a mechanism called education savings account, broader in terms of the students that could be affected in some ways. And the biggest difference, instead of being kind of an indirect thing where someone has to make a contribution and get a tax credit, this would directly take dollars that would be a student's base state aid per pupil and put it into an account that a family could use for a variety of educational services, including enrollment in private schools. It was clear from the discussion that there's a lot of disagreement about what this would actually cost and what the effect would be. Probably no need to hugely get into that tonight, other than to say we really don't know. Unless we have some guess of how many students would take advantage of this, it's hard to play out all the different costs. Districts would receive, you wouldn't lose money for loss of enrollment right away. Everyone seems clear on that in the bill. But the long-term impact, if you lost students under our formula, you lose students over time, you lose funding for those students, but there's a lot of moving parts within the formula. The supporters were individuals and groups that just basically said it's good to give people choices. Many of our kids are doing well, but too many are not doing well. Let's give them options. One size doesn't fit all. And I think the counter position that we took, and there were a number of parents, board members, and teachers that really spoke. I was about the only statewide organization, PTA and Game On, took the tack of saying, but wait a minute, when you're talking about private schools, you're talking about schools that don't have to accept all kids, don't have to accept high needs kids. What if they get left behind? How will we serve them? And I think that's where the debate was and is. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I think you've encapsulated it pretty well. It's just, they're kind of, they seem to be two categorically opposite positions at this point. And I think everybody had a chance to kind of tell their side of the story today.
Yeah, I think both sides were at least saying that they had the best idea of what students need at heart, and it's just a difference of philosophy. I know I thought one parent put it well when she said she was testifying against the bill, and she said that the bill was basically a license to break down the public school system and replace it with an every student for themselves mentality. And so I think that's one of the reasons we're kind of that we just don't like this bill. It just represents a departure from the philosophy of what a public school education system is and how it fits in our society.
And as another parent said, a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, this is not the time to try to overhaul or do such a substantial change as the one that's envisioned in this bill.
Well, let's just note that the scholarship expansion bills, which is House Bill 2068 and Senate Bill 61, are out of their chambers. They're headed to the House and Senate floor for debate as early as this week. So those are kind of the immediate issue. The committee could work this bill later this week. I would suspect there probably are the votes for this committee to do it. But I think that the fact that this is, I think everyone agrees, has some larger fiscal note may give more pause about its long-term viability. We'll have to see. We want to pivot to that remote distance learning and some impacts of the state board. Would just quickly say the Senate Education Committee began its work today on the Department of Education budget, which includes all the money for school finance programs, including the continuing phase-in of money for the Gannon School Finance Plan. No testimony was taken. That'll be tomorrow. We're planning to testify on that. So you may want to be following that. But the other big news tomorrow is the State Board of Education. What's happening there?
Tomorrow, State Board of Education holds its monthly meeting, and they're going to hear from the Commissioner, Randy Watson, on the Navigating Next document that he's going to kind of unveil tomorrow. And this is to kind of provide some guidance for schools, hopefully, as we get a little past this pandemic. And it's also going to talk about how to maybe get kids up, and the use of federal funds that are going to schools. So this is in addition to the Navigating Change document that we began the school year with, that the state board issued as sort of a guidance for schools. It had all the health protocols and things like that. And so now we're entering, I guess, the next phase.
So that will be kind of unveiled tomorrow, and then the state board is going to spend time talking about it and presumably decide whether to accept it on Wednesday. And then if you want to learn more about it,
That's right.
Join us Friday.
Okay.
Join us Friday at
Friday.
noon for our weekly legislative update, when our special guest will be Commissioner Randy Watson, who will be able to talk about that and some of the other developments in the area of education. We'd strongly advise you to kind of pay attention as we're reporting these things and listen to the commissioner, because it'll really help answer what we know are legitimate questions out there about how schools are responding, what we're going to do to help kids that have been set back. We know they were. How do we respond to that? How are we able to use some of the new federal dollars coming in? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Guys, we don't want to make this much longer. Anything else we need to talk about?
No, Mark, you must be exhausted. It was a long afternoon, and I think we've covered what we need to for tonight.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much. I'm sure you were tweeting away while I was getting ready to testify and coming down from that. And so always a pleasure, but do want to commend a couple of other school board members testified today, and I think did a great job, should have done their colleagues proud. And we had a former school board member on the other side. So, you know, we, former Wichita school board member. So school boards were well represented in the debate, and I thought everyone did a good job. It's a tough issue, but we're representing the mission that the position our members have adopted, and we'd encourage you to add your voices to this. So thank you guys. We'll